The telltale stench emanating from cattle farms is more than stinky. It can be devastating for the environment. That's because an enzyme in cow pies liberates ammonia from the urea in urine, sending it into the atmosphere. This ammonia washes down with the rain, changing soil and water chemistry and leading to effects such as harmful algal blooms, damage to vegetation, and reduced biodiversity. But a new study published yesterday, September 13, in Current Biology suggests a way to stop this problem at the source, by putting cattle in charge of separating their own waste products. The team, led by applied ethologist Jan Langbein of the Research Institute for Farm Animal Biology in Germany and PhD student Neele Dirksen, successfully convinced calves to utilize bovine latrines, dubbed MooLoos. Can we do something starting from the behavior of the animal to reduce ammonia emissions from the cattle barn? You can train infants to use a toilet, you can train cats to use a toilet, you can train your dog to use some kind of toilet, or just not void in the flat. They void wherever they stand, wherever they walk, and there was a general belief that it's impossible to train cattle to develop what we call interoceptive awareness about signals coming from the bladder. And we thought, well, let's try to train them. You mentioned in your paper that earlier attempts to toilet train cattle had only been partially successful. What did your team do differently? JL. About 10 years ago, the first group started to train certain elements of this toilet sequence, and they found that cattle probably can develop some interoceptive awareness, because they trained them, so that, whenever they voided in the barn, the researchers gave them a reward. After a while, the cattle oriented towards the guy with the reward before they ended voiding. That means they got the idea. They established some kind of an association between, when I void, I get a reward. But that is just one step of the whole toilet sequence, and another group started toilet training in a different way. They injected a diuretic while the calf was in a box. Whenever the calf urinated after getting this injection of the diuretic, it got a reward later in the test. They did not inject the diuretic, but looked at the frequency of voiding in this box in comparison to control calves. We first locked up the calves into some kind of a latrine and rewarded them for every urination in the latrine. Then we opened the latrine and allowed the calf to stay outside. And the calf should enter the latrine now only for voiding, and when she voided in the latrine, then the calf got a reward. And when the calves urinated outside the latrine, then we punished the calves by 2 seconds of sprinkler from a bath. You could call it punishment, but we call it a reminder. 11 out of 16 calves reached the success rate of about 80% of voiding in the latrine, so 8 out of 10 urinations happened in the latrine, and only 2 outside. Not perfect, but quite good. A calf demonstrates how researchers can train cattle to urinate in latrines to keep their solid and liquid waste separate, reducing harmful ammonia emissions. Once successfully using the latrine, the calf receives a reward, not unlike a sticker chart for a potty training toddler. Research Institute for Farm Animal Biology TS. How long did it take from start to finish to get the cows to 80%? JL. Because we had to inject this diuretic to increase the frequency of urination during a 45-minute training session, we were allowed by the ethical committee to do only 15 say. So we trained the calves to perform the whole training sequence within 15 sessions of 45 minutes TS. Did that take days or weeks or months? JL. We had 3 training sessions in a week, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so 5 weeks. TS. I think parents of toddlers would be very impressed. JL. That's what we wrote in the article. It's comparable to toddlers. TS. What if cattle farms wanted to adopt this technique? What sort of infrastructure would they need to implement to actually be able to capture and process the waste? JL. That's always the question. How fast can you transfer experimental results into practice? And I have to admit that it will take a couple of years. This study was done in a real experimental environment. We had what we called a behavior arena, and within this arena, we built up the latrine and a 10-meter-long alley, which leads to the latrine, and the calf could only walk around in the alley or could enter the latrine. Our study was a proof of concept. Is it possible at all to train cattle? Yes, it is. Now we are planning a follow-up project where we want to transfer these more experimental results into more practical conditions. A calf enters a MooLoos latrine research institute for farm animal biology TS. So the latrine wasn't a literal toilet. Can you describe what it was like? JL. It was an area of 2 by 2 meters with an entrance gate. Please support my channel to grow by pressing subscribe button and the bell icon. We will notify you technological news. Thank you.